absolutely been enjoying the ride as we talk with various persons who have played a role in the start, the dream, the push, and the pull of Love 101 FM. And with me today is Reverend Dr. Orville Neal. And you may have been hearing his name if you've been listening carefully. I'm sure you heard his name called. And today we're going to hear his part in the story of love.
Mhm.
Hello, Reverend Dr. Neal. How are you?
Hello, Nadine. How are you? I'm fine,
I,
thanks.
I'm good. And so good to see you. It's been a minute. It's been a
Wonderful.
long while.
Long
Yes,
time indeed.
yes. Rev, I'm going to try and rock your memory now.
Yeah, that's all right.
I want you to take us back in time. Your first role in the startup of Love 101 FM.
Well, we go back to 1980, 88. Yes,
Wow.
yes. Um, it all started, in fact, it all started with a telephone call from the then Prime Minister, um, Edward Siaga. He called me one day in my office and he said, Rev, I know that you and your organization have been wanting to have a radio station for some time. And I want to tell you that the cabinet has decided that they would like to give the Evangelical Association the license to operate the radio station.
Yes.
And I said, no, sir. You're going to put me in a very, I, you're going to put me
Precarious
in a very
position.
precarious position in relation to the other members of the, how do I justify?
Yes.
And so I said, thanks, but no thanks.
Hmm.
And so I said, well, let's get a broad-based group of all the churches together, and then let us see where we take it from then. And so the first meeting was held in my office at Grace Missionary Church, and in the same office that Project Accord, you remember? Project Accord, right.
Yes.
The disaster, the hurricane, the hurricane disaster of 1988.
Wow.
So we got together a broad-based committee and an interim committee to look at it. We got Reverend Dr. Terence Rose from the Council of Churches
Hmm.
and Archbishop Carter, Bishop Robert Foster from the Moravian Church, Clyde Edwards, and all of these persons. In fact, they named Dr. Rose as the interim chairman and Clyde Edwards as the secretary. And so we began to, I was just a nominal member of the board, and we began
But
to,
you had the links.
eh?
You had the links.
Well, apparently, yes, yes. In fact, yes, I am accepted then across the broad spectrum of the church.
Yes.
And so, yes, I think your father was there, and so was Bishop Blair, and we all met and discussed. And Reverend Oliver Daly came on board, yes. And then after the elections, the then government, the PNP government came in, and they started the dialogue all over again.
Mhm.
And by then we had formed national religious, I forget the name of the station or the company,
The
Media
Media
Commission,
Commission.
correct. And they elected me as the chairman and Reverend Oliver Daly as assistant chairman.
So you were
Archbishop,
the first chairman
I was the
of the
first chairman,
National Religious Media
Media
Commission.
Commission, right. And then I had Archbishop Carter as my treasurer and the late Carmen Stewart as secretary. And we had
Harold, my
Ronald Blair,
uncle.
yes, and
Yes.
all the various church leaders, the Church of God. I can't remember all the names, Reverend Weir from the Seventh-day Adventists. And so we brought a broad-based committee. In fact, Love FM is historic in many respects because I went to several overseas consultations went to North America, and I shared the vision of having all the religious groups in Jamaica coming together to have a radio station. And they said, incredible, that's crazy. I went
Wow.
to Puerto Rico and shared the vision there, and they said, no, you tell us when you can do it, because that is near impossible to get the Roman Catholics and the Seventh-day Adventists to sit and to work together. And then I went to Bonaire down in the Eastern Caribbean, had another meeting there, and and then when it all birthed, that we went to the then minister of Paul Robertson was minister of, and we began to negotiate about the license. And well, then we had to bring on Mr. Winston Rickgard as the general manager, and so he was integrally involved in the process. But to me, the grandest moment was when we had ordered the equipment, the transmitter, and the truck came from the wharf with it and came to the station. And I jumped on top of the back of the truck. And I laid my hands and I began to bless the equipment. And then they proceeded to take the equipment up to Flower Hill where it was installed. Well, it was great, memorable moment.
Can I tell you that transmitter
Yes.
lasted us so long? I think we changed it only a few years ago. It lasted us so long. And if I'm incorrect, boss, please help me. But it lasted so long. So now I know why it lasts, because you jump on the truck and pray over it.
And pray over it. Absolutely. But you know what was remarkable is the coverage. We're able to,
Yes. And
people
the
in the
reach.
gorge and the reach.
Hmm.
It was just incredible how God had
Yes.
his hand in all of this. And we just give him the praise and the glory.
Amen. Amen. What
Yes.
was I mean, I don't have to ask you what was that feeling like. If you're jumping on the back of a truck to pray, you must have been excited.
Oh, absolutely, man. I
Oh,
don't know how quickly I jumped up there. The adrenaline was pumping in, man. I jumped on top of that
wow.
truck back and I laid my hands on it, and the rest of the committee was around the truck, and it was an awesome moment. But
Yes.
you know what was a euphoric moment? The 14th of February. That's why Valentine's Day.
Yes.
The launch of it was in studio, and
Yes.
we had just the chair, the members of the board there, and a few persons from the wider church community. But it was a very moving ceremony. Yes. And then you know what is interesting? They had the crusade, the Celebrate Jesus crusade,
Yes.
and almost the same night. And do you know that I took the equipment to do the recording at the National Stadium and began to interview persons, very amateurish. And
You had your dip in radio,
I had
Reverend
my
Dr.
dip in
Neil.
radio. Oh yes, it was fantastic.
Mhm.
I think Love FM carried that crusade.
Yes.
We got expertise to help, and they covered that entire crusade.
Wow.
Uh, that was to God be the glory. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Those were the days. And
Oh
what
yes,
days that laid a beautiful foundation for us, strong enough so that we are foundation strong enough to keep us going, so that today in the anniversary we can say we stand.
yes,
You, what else you
absolutely.
want to say,
No, it is
Doc?
it is just remarkable how things fell into place.
Yes.
God's hand was in it from the very outset. To
Hmm.
get the number of churches to sign on and to be a part of this was remarkable. And then when it came now to dollars and cents, and we had a budget prepared, and each umbrella group was asked to contribute so much, and it was an awesome moment. But
Mm.
there's a tremendous sense of achievement.
Yeah.
that the church, I think this is one of the enduring symbols of church unity in Jamaica. Love FM is an ecumenism of the highest order. And
Let me write that down, sir. It's an Love F101 FM, an enduring symbol of,
cooperation
yes.
and the highest level of ecumenism in this
Hold on, I
country. And in
can't
fact,
spell
the
that word.
region, EUCUMENISM. And in the region,
Ecumenism.
in fact, in the region, I think we are a first. If it, it could be verified whether in fact anything like this had been of a project of this nature involving all the denominations
All the
had been tried in
denomination.
all of the world. I will
Yes.
go on record as to want to wage.
I'll be right there behind you with the flag.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Brought the churches together, and I think it's so powerful that
Absolutely.
you would mention that you went to so many places overseas, and when you mentioned that it's a pulling together of the different various denominations, persons couldn't believe, but
I
we did
couldn't
it,
believe.
and we're still doing it today because the board still. The National Religious Media Commission is still made up of the various umbrella group of churches
Yes,
rotating chairmanship from
yes, it
one.
continue, eh?
Yes, and
Amen.
it's really a show of unity.
Solid
It is
foundation,
possible. Solid,
solid.
solid. I love
And you
it.
see, we were part of the fervent of it, trying to put together the kind of principles, guiding principles that would guide the company forward. And I think God was in it all. To God with the glory. We had some keen minds. I had Reverend Neville Kalam was on the board, and I had
Ah,
Reverend Oliver Daly, and I had Archbishop Carter, and Reverend Dr. Carmen Stewart was tremendous. Bishop Blair had his experience. Everybody brought their
yes,
collective minds together in this whole enterprise.
yes. It's beautiful.
Yes.
We're now celebrating 28 years, and
Wow.
because of God, of course,
Yes.
um, let me say that again. Because of God, of course, we stand. Because of persons like you, Rev, who dared to, well, first of all, you were at the right place at the right time and you
Right
had
place.
favor,
Yes.
exactly, and
Yes.
you got that call. You were dreaming already about it and you got that call. And then you did not grab it as um, something for just one
No.
um, one group,
Yes.
but you looked at the bigger picture. I
The
have to
bigger
say,
picture.
hats off to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
you looked at the bigger picture because you could have just said, say it's true. Yeah, I want this for us and so forth. But you looked at the bigger picture and you ran with it and got
God be
the
glory.
team together.
Yes.
And look at this. This is
It's
legacy. This is,
marvelous.
yes. It's the Lord's doing.
Yes. It is. Certainly is. Certainly is. Oh yes. And going back a little bit, the evangelical church in Jamaica for the early 60s into 70s had continuous discussion with ACJB in Quito, Ecuador.
Yes.
And they were
Quito,
planning
Ecuador. Yes.
Quito, Ecuador. Remember shortwave radio?
Yes.
Yeah.
My
Yes,
dad always listened. Yes.
it was fantastic. So they were willing to partner with us. But
Yes.
in God's fullness, there's a gentleman, Mr. Coward, who went abroad and did a lot of study on establishing Jamaica's first radio station.
Yes.
So we're building on the foundation. Mr. Coward, in particular, he came to us all with this big, heavy document that he had thought through and spent a lot of time preparing. So you have to credit people like that who were in the forefront in trying to
Yes.
bring this dream into reality.
Wow. Thank you for remembering him. I like to give people them props.
Me too. We're standing on the shoulders of great people, man.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Anyone else you can remember?
In those early days, no, one has to credit Bishop Hera Blair because he kept the vision alive, particularly among the full gospel churches, and he had discussions with Paul Crouch, and he was willing to help, and so to set up a studio here, and so one
Oh,
has to pay tribute to those
Paul Crouch of TBN?
TBN.
Wow.
So we're standing on the merely standing on the shoulders of some great men.
Yes.
But
That is
the man with the
that is
vision,
amazing.
it is, it is.
Rev, what is your prayer now for Love 101?
Like God would continue to bless, and I am delighted to see television. We had initially thought of going, before we went, we're thinking of just simply carrying a programming, religious programming of a Christian nature through the cable stations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of some of the battles we fought along the way of fringe groups wanting to come in and spread their own, disseminate their own information. And we stood firm that this is the church,
Yes.
and essentially taking the Christian message. The Rastafarians were, how come this is a national religious commission and they don't have a voice on it? And there were many other groups that wanted to come in, but we stood firm that the proclamation of the gospel and the programming of the church is foremost in the station. So we bless God. I have a lot of memories. In fact, I accumulated. In fact, I was going to do my doctoral dissertation on um, the formation of Love FM, but I didn't.
You should, but you should still do something.
Do you know I loaned many of the documents to the late Byron Chambers? He was
Wow.
a radio, a person who had quite an interest in radio. He pioneered his denomination's program on the radio,
Yes.
and I loaned him all my
And he
documents.
shared on love as well.
He did, he did. It's just wonderful how we passed the baton along, and I just bless God that I was as you said, at the right place at the right
At the
time.
right time.
Amen. To God be the
Amen.
glory.
Thank you for your prayers. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing
yeah,
today. Thank
incredible.
you for what you did. We
Yes,
remember and we are blessed. We're better for it. And we trust that God will continue to use you even now.
thank you, my dear. Bless God.
Thank you so much. Reverend Dr. Orville Neal, our first chairman of the NRMC, National
Yeah,
Religious Media Commission. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
certainly, my dear.
Yes.
Great.
All the best.
Okay, thank you very much, my dear. Blessings.
Bye bye.
Great, great.